BioWare is definitely working on the next Mass Effect, so I thought, why not make a Mass Effect squad mate tier list? This won't be including Andromeda because I don't count that as a game. Also, it won't be including some of the DLC characters that you can use in your squad like Arya. This is just the main line 1, 2, and 3. Now, this will be my opinion, so I'm a straight male. If you're a female, you probably would like some of the characters a little more than I did. However, this is going to be including their personalities and their combat prowess. So, I want to get right into it with something fairly obvious here. Garrus Valkyrion, he's your best friend. You're his mentor. He's your protege through the whole series, and he is the poster boy of Mass Effect 1. And all throughout Mass Effect 1, you can use him for his tech abilities. You can use him because he's a great sniper in Mass Effect 2. That carries over. Same with 3. He's just all around a good combat character, and he has some great dialogue options, especially some of the other characters. And he actually is a fairly decent romance option if you are femme shep. He's an all-around great character, and plus he knows how to calibrate. Okay, so I'll actually order this later, and in fact I might add a tier for what is coming up. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of you agree with Jacob Taylor being in the trash tier. He's boring, he's vanilla, he's not that great in combat. He is what you'd consider a starter gun in an RPG. He is what you start with, he's what you trade out straight away, and you can't even sell him, so you just have to trash him. Jacob is just not a good character. I guess most of the human characters do have that problem. They have to go up against aliens with interesting backstories, but Jacob in particular just wasn't a good character. And if you think he is, that's good. I'm glad you got some joy out of this, because all he did for me was bring down the game. That being said, let's move on to someone who I think is probably hard to define, but I really enjoyed Thane. Thane Krios is a Drell. He has a problem with fin rot. I can't remember exactly what his disease was, but he's dying throughout the series. And in 3, you can't really stop it. If he does survive Mass Effect 2 suicide mission, you can't actually stop him dying from fin rot. So he does come in and help you kick Kai Leng's ass, actually. And he does kick Kai Leng's ass. Thane is such a badass assassin. In single combat, he probably would have killed Kai Leng easily if he wasn't suffering, if he wasn't hospitalized at that time. So he is a really cool badass character. In combat, he has the Vanguard kind of setup of Soldier and Biotic. Fairly useful, especially if you don't have any Biotics on the team. But he does have the problem of sometimes being just a little bit boring and not having the best dialogue. So he's not up here in the A or the S, I think. I think we'll keep him down in the B for now. Now this isn't all ordered, I'll just reiterate that. Let's go with Grunt next. Grunt for me is an A tier. Now he has good dialogue, he is very good in combat, and being a Krogan, he has this special kind of charge ability that once he gets close to an enemy, he will charge in and preoccupy them. So in combat, as a pure soldier Krogan, really, really useful. You don't have any soldier options in your squad. If you're a pure engineer, for example, and you have something like Liara in your team who's a pure biotic, having a pure soldier was really good. Now he is tank bred to be the perfect soldier, and he kind of is. What was he? Test subject 317. He has a nice little arc with coming to terms with who he is, and I find him extremely interesting, and I think he deserves that A tier spot. Now I'm just winging this as we go along, by the way, guys, so this might all change when I get everyone up onto the board, and I'm definitely going to reorder them. Now we talked about Liara. She is most definitely an S tier. She has some of the best abilities in the game. She's a pure biotic. She's with you from the start. She has amazing dialogue. She has amazing growth as a person. She is potentially one of the better or one of the best romance options for either femme or male shep. And besides the cringy dialogue, embrace eternity and all that stuff in the first Mass Effect 1, it's pretty. She's probably the most satisfying to end a relationship on. Besides, for me, Ashley, which we'll talk about soon, and I'll explain why. Don't get angry just yet. Don't get angry just yet. But she's only 100 years old. In Asari terms, that's fairly young. They live thousands of years. So she's almost your protege throughout the series, even though she is a lot older than you. She does end up becoming the Shadow Broker, which is an amazing growth, and that whole DLC was probably my favorite DLC in the series, so she's definitely up there with Garrus. Now, we do have Jack next. Jack is a hard one. I think I'm going to come back to Jack and skip right to my man James Vega over here. James Vega. Another starter gun that you swap out. These two are starter guns, alright? They're the vanilla, male, boring humans. He does a lot of chin-ups, I guess. He likes to punch punching bags. We were holding out on him by having a punching bag in our room. What a weird... He's just a weirdo. If you go fem-shep as well, he flirts really awkwardly with you. I believe the developers only really put him into the game to serve as a new player perspective, because he came in at Mass Effect 3, and if you hadn't played the other two, he provides a commentary you need to understand what's going on. I don't know, he's another protege, but he's a bad Garrus. He's a really bad Garrus. He sits in the shitty soldier area. He doesn't have any tech abilities, doesn't have any biotic abilities, and he's not that great at being a soldier. He's not a Krogan. And he doesn't have great dialogue either. So he is sitting in the trash tier. We have Javik next. Javik is an A. Why? He is the only living Prothean. You spend the first 2 games, well, doing everything you can to find out more about the Protheans, because you feel like they'll help you take on the Reapers. You find one, and he is completely not what you expect. You expect Protheans to be information-seeking, analytical, and he is just pure combat focused. He is a vanguard for the vengeance of his race. And Liara is completely thrown off by what Javik is. He's got funny and unique dialogue. He's just a blast to have around. It feels good to let him have his vengeance. It's amazing. Liara and him on the team is great. He's a DLC character, that's why he's not an S. He's only in the 3rd, that's why he's not an S. He has a really cool ability, I think it's called Dark Channel, makes him really good in combat. He's biotic. He's a great character overall. If you don't have that DLC, definitely pick it up. He's the best DLC character, for sure, by far. Then I want to skip over Kaden for now. He's one of those ones that needs a little bit more of an explanation. I need to build the field up a little bit more to really cover him. Kasumi Grotto, we talked a little bit about DLC characters. Kasumi, for me, is down in the D tier. A lot of people like Kasumi. I don't. For one, she is a DLC character. 2, she's kind of weak in combat. Now, people like her Shadow Strike, and I get that, but I don't know if behind the scenes she just doesn't have as much health, or because she has to get in close, she absorbs all of the damage. But she seems to die fairly quickly, and keeping her alive is very annoying, especially in the higher difficulties. So, combat-wise, not that great. In terms of storyline, she kind of just gets slotted into the story. She's just like a side character. She feels like she is that ninja just sitting in the background watching things, which I don't really like. Her DLC story was just kind of, it's like this. I'm just going out of my way to preserve my boyfriend's memory. I don't really care about that. The only good thing about it was it did have the best SMG in the game, or one of the best SMGs in the game you can get from her DLC. So that's what's interesting about her. Now, let's move on to Legion. Now, this might cause a bit of a stir, but I think Legion is an A tier. Why? Well, he's over 1,183 guest programs in a single mobile platform. He's very unique. He wears that N7 armor that he got from Shepard's body. He's amazing in combat. He's great in combat. He's like a Garrus. He's got a rich storyline involving AI, which is the overarching theme of Mass Effect. Whole AI and struggling with that. And if you're at the end of Mass Effect 3 and you're picking an ending, I 100% think the integrating with the AI is the way that Mass Effect was heading down. It was talking about the problems with AI and the rebellions and all that stuff, and just everyone becoming part AI just seems like the right thing to do. And with Legion, he has this character growth that just really spoke to me. He started off as a we, calling himself a we, and then eventually, before sacrificing himself, if you go down that path, he refers to himself as an I. And I found that really overwhelming, and that was a really good moment for him. Other than that, him being great in combat and overall having a great storyline with a lot of interesting banter because he is that AI. So let's keep him in A for now. Then we have probably my favorite character in the entire game, Morden Solus. Morden Solus. Ultra straight talking, ultra intelligent. He's a model Solarian scientist. He's powerful in combat. His Incinerate was the single best ability you can use in the game to burn through armor. Having him on your squad as a pure engineer was just perfect. If you weren't a pure engineer yourself, 100% pick up Morden for your team. Great in combat, great abilities, and he had an amazing redemption arc. His whole storyline with the Genophage started off strong in Mass Effect 2. He starts off in that clinic because there is fundamental depression all laced throughout his storyline. He's trying to redeem himself, and in the third he does. He sacrifices himself for the greater good, and it had to have been him. Someone else would have got it wrong. So Morden, amazing storyline. Really loved the character he was. His personality, what he did behind the scenes, great character, deserves the S rank. Now, Samara or Morinth. Now, I don't have Morinth here, but we'll include that as the same kind of thing. I'm going to put her as the C. Now, this could be, for those who don't know, when you recruit Samara, she is an Asari Justicar. She's over 1,000 years old. She's very, very powerful. She's a strong, pure biotic. She is potentially a replacement to Liara in the second, but doesn't really function that way. She isn't as interesting. That's why she's lower. She is potentially as strong in combat, but since you can't really use Liara beyond the Shadow Brokers DLC, you can't really compare. However, during her loyalty mission, you do get to fight her, well, you don't get to fight, she gets to fight her daughter, Morinth. Now, her daughter is an Arctic Yakshi. It's basically like a space vampire that when they have sex with you, they will kill you and drain you and become more powerful. So an Arctic Yakshi is fairly strong, and she's hunting down her daughter, who is one. You can choose to either side with Samara or Morinth. If you side with Morinth, Samara gets killed, and you can take Morinth as your teammate. Now that is fairly interesting. I'll give you that. That's interesting. And she's pressing you to sleep with you throughout the whole thing. And if you do actually sleep with her, she does tell you, Shepard, you're too strong. Your will is too strong. You will survive the process. It's nothing but pure ecstasy, which it is. You actually do die from pure ecstasy during the sexual experience. That's how they drain you. She says you'll survive. Shepard will survive, and you don't. You die. You get a game over screen if you sleep with Morinth. So that's pretty interesting. Spoiler alert. This is all spoilers though, baby. This is all spoilers. So Samara herself, not that interesting. That's why she's down at sea. She's decent in combat. Nothing special, nothing flash. She's got her moments. You can't sleep with her, but she does resist you. You do share a kiss with her, then she resists you. She doesn't want to go through that again. And it's kind of hinted that she doesn't want another child. She doesn't want to go through another relationship, because if she has another child, there's a potential of being another Arctic Yakshi, and she's got 3 of those. 2 are within the facility that keeps them safe from the rest of the world, or the rest of the world safe from them, and then she has that one that she had to hunt down, so she wants to probably avoid that. Now, let's go to EDI. EDI's an interesting one. She's very defensive in combat, very, very defensive in combat. You don't really need that as a squad mate. You maybe in higher difficulties, sure, But Mass Effect 3's highest difficulty really isn't that hard. Not like Mass Effect 2, where Mass Effect 2's insanity was just actual insanity. I had nightmares and cold sweats waking up dreaming of finishing it. And I did, and that was an ultimate experience, the ultimate satisfaction of finishing it was saddening. But then Mass Effect 3, not so hard. So you don't need defensive talents for one of your squad mates. So EDI doesn't really fit a need within Mass Effect 3. So combat-wise, not that great. She's romancing Joker at the time, so you don't have to worry about any of that. She doesn't have anything special. You've had her dialogue all through Mass Effect 2. You get it. She's just in a mobile platform now. She doesn't serve anything interesting. She doesn't have growth as a character. She's deserving of a D tier, I think. So tell me if you think any differently. Now we have Tali. Tali Zaraya Nara. Pure engineer. You meet her when she's on her pilgrimage. She starts off what seemingly is fairly young, but then she works her way up to Admiral of the Fleet. So she definitely has some growth throughout that series. A lot of people love her a bit more than I do. I put her up in S because I understand why a lot of people like her so much. I don't like her as much as the other three here. If there was an A+ tier, I'd probably put her there. But I think she deserves more than the A. She's good in combat because she is that engineer. When you don't have Morden, she is, she has this energy drain ability that's great for shields. She's overall a good character. She has a lot of witty dialogue, especially in the Citadel DLC in Mass Effect 3. She lets her hair down metaphorically. She's got this whole thing with her race needing to be in these suits, otherwise they'll break out into blah, 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 blah. She did have this weird, I guess, stock photo of her when you romance her that you see that kind of ruined it a little bit for me, but overall she's a good character. I think she deserves the S tier. She has growth, she has a lot of great dialogue, she's interesting, she's great in combat, just like the other three in this tier. Then we have the last of the S tier, my man Rex. Now Rex is the first Krogan, the real Krogan, the ultimate Krogan. He is the badass. He is the tanky Krogan with biotics, which is just nuts. He can warp, he can push, he can charge in and smash, and has a lot of health, and he's very, very hard to kill. Because he has that Krogan passive, he's an interesting one. Like, if you don't have enough biotics on your team, he really, in the Citadel DLC, when you use him, everyone's talking up just how strong he is and that they have a Krogan. It's kind of a take on, we have a Hulk. He is a great character in combat. In combat wise, Rex is amazing. In terms of story, he has the major Krogan arc. He's all about getting rid of the Genophage. Him and Morden share similar themes, but he's got this badass side to him that comes out through the dialogue. He's got some funny moments, the memes now, like the Shepard, Rex, Shepard situation. He's the rounded out S tier character here. I think this is the perfect S tier, and I think a lot of you will agree. Let's move over to the remainders. We have Zayid Missoni. He is a DLC character, but I think he is better than Kasumi. Reason being is he's better in combat, he's a bit tankier, he is that DLC character, but he's a badass, he burns the bodies, he's got some cool dialogue. If you've got him when you walk in to the plague area in Mass Effect 2, then he talks about having to burn the bodies, he gives you commentary about being a soldier all the time. His DLC mission's all about fire, he's got those inferno grenades. He's decent, he's a standard kind of gruff mercenary character that provides that kind of commentary. So he's one of the more interesting human characters, and if you notice, there's no human characters up here, and that's not out of bias. That's simply just because these are more interesting. These characters are more interesting. Look at them, they're much more interesting. Zayid's the first human character right now that I put up here, and he is a C. So let's move on. Now we have Jack. Now Jack, for me, is a really difficult one. Like, I really want to put her between the A and the B, but there is no between the A and the B, so I do have to make a choice, and I will order it later. I think I'm going to put her as B for now. And the reason being is she's very interesting. She's a very, very interesting character. She is Subject Zero, which was teased throughout a lot of the marketing collateral that was going on throughout Mass Effect 2. And if you watch the cinematic trailer, Mass Effect 2 cinematic trailer, check it out. They don't show her face, they just show her lifting a finger and completely destroying all of the soldiers around her. She's an incredibly powerful biotic, and that is shown in her combat prowess. You'll see it throughout Mass Effect 2. If you pick her, she is very strong in combat. And she has some interesting back and forth with Shepard. She's troubled, she's severely troubled, she's got a lot of issues, and that makes her very, very interesting. You can have a one-night stand with her from the start of the game, but if you do, she just loses respect for you and just doesn't want to talk to you. You can hold out, however, and if you do, her walls get broken down, her biotic barriers get broken down, and she turns out to be someone fairly intimate, fairly caring, and if you progress through that romance with her to the third, it's really cool. She's a really cool character. She is more dominating, a more aggressive female character, which is really cool. It's different from what you're used to with something like Ashley, which is more of your protege. So she definitely deserves a B slot or even an A slot, but I think we'll keep her in B for now. Then we have Miranda. Now, Miranda's a B. Miranda's a B, even though she's probably got D's. Miranda is the power fantasy for a straight male. That's why I think she probably gets more recognition than she deserves. It's really hard to categorize her because she does have that ass, and it is thrown in your face in a lot of scenes in Mass Effect 2, but at least they gave straight males an attractive option. A lot of people don't find her attractive though. But anyway, she's genetically engineered to be the perfect woman, so it makes sense that she's the way she is, that she's that Cerberus cheerleader. Makes sense she has a nice body and she's very intelligent and she kind of holds herself to a higher standard. Now, when you do break down her wall, she does start to open up and there is more of a storyline to her, and her character does grow in that she realizes that she kind of put her own prejudice that her father put against her onto you while she was rebuilding you. But that old stuff is not as interesting as all this ahead of it. It's not as interesting. Now in combat, she is fairly good. She is that half biotic. She can't keep you safe in Mass Effect 2 suicide mission though, if she needs to put up a barrier. Jack can, because Jack is very powerful. Samara can, because Samara is very powerful. But Miranda can't. So she's not the most powerful biotic. She is a half soldier. She's kind of sitting in that weird tier where it's like, if you had Rex as an option in Mass Effect 2, then Miranda just would never see the light of day in combat because they share the same class, the same kind of abilities, but the Krogan passive is better than the human passive, obviously. Alright, then we have the last two here. Now this is an interesting one because on one hand we have potentially the truest romance you can have as a straight male. As a male ship. This romance leads throughout the whole series, leads throughout 1, 2, and 3. It feels like the truest end at the end of the Citadel DLC along with Liara. These two seemingly have the best potential romances, the best scenes. You feel the most satisfied, but I feel like she gets a lot of flack that's not deserved. One of the reasons is the space racist story. For those who don't know, she tells you a story about how we can't really trust the other races, and the reason is given in it like a weird story about a dog. You're running away from a predator with your dog. If the only way to survive is to sacrifice your dog and keep running, you'll do it. It doesn't matter how much you love your dog. Now people are assuming that she's calling the other races a dog and that we should sacrifice them and run ahead. But that's not what she's saying. What she's saying is we're the dog. Humans are the dog. And no matter how much the other races like us now, if they need to sacrifice us, they will. So those are her anxieties come out. And if you really dive deeper into her story, you realize that she does have that kind of niggling anxiety at the back, and she just really doesn't know her own place in the world, and she's just trying to be what her family wants her to be. So there is a lot more to her than that's on the surface, so to speak. She's an interesting character. She's very good in combat because she's a pure soldier. So if you don't have that pure soldier class, you don't have any soldier classes, you just have a biotic like Liara and a pure tech like Tali, then she really rounds it out. These three really round it out together as a good squad. Then we have Kaden. You have to choose between sacrificing Ashley and Kaden, and to be honest, I only let Kaden live once. And when I did, I found that he did have more to him than is at the surface. You know, he's that L2 implant biotic. He has those migraines, yeah, I get that whinge, but he is a sentinel, which is an interesting class. He's a sentinel. He has the engineer and the biotic side. He has a little bit more to him. He has an interesting ability, I think in 2, that he can teach Shepard. I can't remember, I think it was Reeve. In a lot of ways, he's better than Ashley in combat. Definitely more useful because Ashley does sit in that tier of, she's a soldier, she's good, but potentially if you're not anything but a pure engineer, pure biotic, you're not going to find use out of her. But Kaden is always going to find use in the group. However, his romance was kind of weird. I found him kind of awkward in a lot of cases, and I didn't really find myself caring about him. He does sit in that unfortunate area of just not quite being your protege, but not quite being interesting enough to be anything else. I don't know. He deserves a C tier. Now I understand that the only humans up here are female. That might be my bias, but they are what seemed more interesting than Kaden and than Zayid, and then these two trash tiers. I don't think there's a female or one interested in males, any person interested in males, that find these two interesting. I just feel like they didn't write them properly. That's my opinion. Now, let's just order these before I waffle on a bit too much. Let's start down at the trash here. Who is the ultimate trash? I'm definitely going to say this is in the right order. Look, Jacob gets a lot of flack for being the worst, but James is only in the 3rd. He doesn't have, the extra game of character building going on, and he's just, I don't know, there's just something so boring and so mundane about him. I just don't like him at all. Jacob is up next. I think Edie deserves a little bit higher than Kasumi. I think Kasumi is the 3rd worst. She doesn't have anything going for her, really. She really doesn't have anything going for her. She's slightly more interesting than Jacob, but not by much, and I think Jacob's slightly better in combat. Then you have Edie. I would have preferred Edie just stayed as the ship's computer and not have a mobile body. Honestly, like Edie's just, how interesting can you make an AI that has to speak like an AI? She provides you relative mission information, and that's about it. Personality-wise, I don't really care. I'm glad that Joker found someone, but Joker is the interesting one, not her. If Joker and Edie were a package, I'd put them up into the A, but it's just her. Then we have Kaden. I think he belongs there. I think Samara is better than Zayid. I think this is a good order right now. Zayid is... I think Samara is still better in combat than these two, because she is that pure biotic, and anything pure means that you can really specialize them into something specific, like if you want the shockwave, for example. So then we move on to the B tier. Now this is going to take a little bit of ordering. I did write here, I think C, D, and trash are all perfect. But in terms of the B tier, I think Jack probably deserves higher than Ashley. Thane deserves better than Miranda. I think because Miranda doesn't get the best time in Mass Effect 3, she doesn't get a resolution like I would have wanted. You don't get to spend as much time with her as I would have wanted. I think she wasn't rounded out as well as Ashley was. And Jack, even though she kind of got the same treatment as Miranda did, but I think Jack in 2 was a lot more interesting than Ashley was, so that kind of rounds it out. And overall, I think Jack was just a well-made character. Then Thane really got a nice arc in the 3rd. His death was inevitable. You really felt for him, even though as a person, well, not a person, but as a Drell, he's kind of not that interesting. but because he is that alien, he's boosted up higher. It was just on his dialogue. I think I'd put him at a C, but he is good in combat. He does have that whole arc that I really enjoyed, so I think he sits there. It's nice. Then we have the A tier. I'm gonna put Legion ahead of Grunt. I really enjoyed Legion. I enjoyed him in 2. The reason I think he potentially is lower because they don't let you use him as much as I would like, and he only comes in on Mass Effect 2. But he has an amazing amount of banter with different characters, with Tali, with Liara, with Garrus, with actually, yeah, a little bit with Jacob. But anyway, he's just a good character overall to have with you. He's great in combat. I keep saying he, but it's them, isn't it? It's them. They have, I guess you can call him he now, right? Because he agrees that he's an I after all. Whatever. I think he deserves a top spot in A. I'd even put him like in between, honestly. It'd be like an A+ rank. Same probably with Javik, honestly. He, once again, is a DLC character, but letting him into your squad does provide that banter, which is similar to Legion here, but he also is great in combat. He's the only living Prothean. He's funny in a lot of ways. It feels like he shouldn't have been a DLC character. It feels like he should have been there from the start, honestly, from Mass Effect 2, but you only get him in Mass Effect 3, so I feel like that's why I think he's not as good as Grunt, honestly, because he doesn't have the extra game to kind of propel him forward, to give him a bit more growth. But letting him have vengeance, helping him get the vengeance, it just feels good. It feels good having him there. Maybe even sits on the B+, but let's put him there for now. Grunt, he's in a good spot. Grunt is a lot of fun. He's that pure soldier. He's probably one of the best in combat. Like combat-wise, Grunt is one of the best characters. He's the perfect Krogan. He's a perfect soldier. 317 Krogans died to make him what he is. So fun, interesting, good in combat, deserves that spot. Then we have the S tier. This is going to be the hardest to do. This is going to be the hardest to do. I think the best character in the game, the best squad mate in the game, by far, actually by a margin, not by far, that's not right. By a margin is Garrus. Garrus is there with you from the start. He's your best friend. He's your protege. You have the most amount of dialogue with him than you do in probably any other character. He's amazing in combat. He's a great sniper. He's there with you for everything. He's there building the relationship with other characters with you. He had your back from the start. He was the only one in CSEC trying to clear your name from the start. You know, he's been there throughout, thick and thin. You find him in 2 and he's just on board straight away. He's like, there's Shepard, I'm gonna go help him. That's what we need to do. You know, when you died, if he fell into a spiral of just not knowing what to do with himself. And I think in the DLC Shadowbroker's Lair, it describes him as not being able to spread his wings and fly while he's under Shepard's command, and it kind of makes sense. It really does, because he does follow you religiously, and you do have that back and forth with him and him with the other characters that is just unseen within the series comparatively. So he's probably the best character. Now, he's not my favorite character, but he is the most well-rounded, best at everything kind of character. Well-rounded doesn't mean best at everything, but you get my point. Then we have who comes second. It has to be Liara. It has to be Liara. I was tossing up between Morden and Liara, but Liara was once again there from the start. Same qualities. I think these two are almost exactly the same in that they're there from the start. They have good romances, they have good dialogue, they have good character growth, they have good of everything. These two together just fit as a team, and I don't think anyone will disagree that these two are the best characters in the game. Then next is, I guess this is an S+ rank almost, you know. Then we have Morden. He's my favorite by far. He has great abilities for combat. He has great dialogue. He has a great redemption arc. He has Everything that I want in a character. He's funny, he's intelligent, he's a scientist, he's Solarian. He's just an interesting character. They even added like stress marks to his face to make him look more rugged. And he does hold the line. Tell him I held. That's how funny this guy is. If he dies in Mass Effect 2, in the suicide mission, his last words are "Tell him I held the line," which is quoting the guy from Mass Effect 1 that tells you, or has that big speech to hold the line when you're assaulting that Saren's facility. So he's very interesting. I'm gonna put Rex ahead of Tali. A lot of people are gonna hate me for that. But I just really enjoyed Rex. He would probably be higher if he had more of a stake in Mass Effect 2. But he's your man. He's your man for all things Krogan. He's the leader. He tells you he's gonna kill someone and he does it in front of you. He's that kind of guy. He's the ultimate. I guess if Grunt is the ultimate soldier, then Rex is the ultimate leader when it comes to Krogan. You feel that about him. He really wants what's best for his people, but he does it in a renegade way. If you go the renegade path, you're gonna enjoy his banter. That's for sure. Also, he's just fantastic in combat. Then you have Tali, great in combat, great dialogue. Her romance isn't as well thought out and well fine-tuned as Liara's and Ashley's, but it's there. That's what matters. Overall, she has a lot of growth, great arc, and I think this is about right. I haven't included any of the Mass Effect Andromeda stuff. I feel like if you haven't played Mass Effect, definitely get into it. Mass Effect 2 is probably one of my favorite games of all time. I do love all three of them, and I think if you enjoyed this kind of content, leave a like. Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think. Actually, is this the right list? Like, how would you order it? Let me know what you think. Jump onto Discord, my Discord, if you want to talk to me directly. If you want to send me your tier list, you can do that on Discord. If you want to enter the competition to win a console of your choice, that's also down below. Let me know, guys. Let me know what you think. I'll be back very soon with everything BioWare. We're gonna talk about BioWare very soon, guys. Trust me, E3's coming up. There's gonna be a lot more to talk about. Dragon Age is in production. I might do a Dragon Age tier list next, but thank you for watching, guys, and I'll be back very soon.